My name is Adedunke Gomina. I'm an audio engineer by profession, and this is Sbfrequency events. Our handles are actually below, and you can follow us on all our social media platforms. Today, we're going to be talking about the church event halls and everything that has to do with buildings in relation to your sound system. Yes, to your sound system. By sound system, I mean that anything that produces sound at your event or in your church, that's what I refer to as a sound system. Now, a lot of us, when we build, we actually contact our architect that actually helps us come up with a design. Yes, a design, and we actually determine where the bulbs will be, where the light fittings will be, all that. But we don't consider where the sound system is actually going to be. Now, that is a very, very, very big problem. And if a lot of us have considered that from the onset of the installation, it would have helped our sounds to be fantastic. Now, first things first, why do we have to consider our sound system from scratch of a building? We have so many factors to consider, and I'm going to be listing them to explain to you why you actually need to plan for your sound system when you start building. The factor you would have to consider is the sound design. What do I mean by the sound design now? Now, in every building, everybody actually determines where the lights are actually going to be and all that, and the actual position of where the things are actually going to be. But now, for the sound system, nobody plans for it. It's after the building has been done, then you now actually see people and churches, and the sound engineer now starts to determine, okay, this is where the speaker is going to be. After the entire building has been done, that is not supposed to be. Now, there's what we call sound design. Is also where we determine where the speakers are actually going to be in the venue. And we do that with the software, the same way the architects use things like AutoCAD to actually design the architectural design. It's the same way we take the sound system into a software and we actually determine the positioning of the sound system. Yes, we actually determine what the interference of the speakers are actually going to be, and that's what determines how many speakers we're actually going to use in that venue. Yeah, so for the sound system design, a lot is actually considered. Now, I'm going to be using Deeper Life as a case study. By what I mean Deeper Life, we have an installation that we were fully involved in from scratch of the building of their church structure and also the sound installation. Now, Deeper Life is a project that a lot of us heard about, and it actually made the news because of the massive number of speakers. We have that actually on the screen, as you can see, and we're showing you pictures of the installation process that was done. Now, that particular installation, over 10 years ago, the entire vendors, including the people that were going to install the sound system, were contacted. And we always actually went for meetings, meaning all the contractors, we would actually sit down. And one major thing that actually impressed me was the architect. Yes, the architect made sure that there was no cable flying around in the place. He actually made sure that everything was done professionally. So that meant that before any POP or ceiling was fixed, all the cabling had to be done for the AC guys, for the light guys, for the light fitting, for the video guys, and for the sound system. Everything was done first before the ceiling was fixed. So that's why if you check the picture of the on the balcony speaker, you would actually notice that there's no cable around that speaker. That's because everything was planned professionally. Now, I've seen so many people just position speakers in their venue and you see cables flying around the place. Some people trip over the cables, they can't move around, and just by moving they will just trip, and that's because there's no plan for a cable path. That's another reason why you have to have a plan for your installation. Cable path is something that is very, very, very important. because you can have audio cables and light cables. By light cables, I mean electrical cables. You can't have them run in the same path. What will actually happen in such a situation is that when they run in the same path, you would have what we call electromagnetic interference. And by that, we mean that you would be hearing some noise in your sound system. And we don't want that. Actually, you want your sound system to sound clear, smooth, and precise. Yeah, so you have to make sure that there's a plan for the cable path. Some people actually, when we professionally advise, we have cable ducts. We have ducts in the building where cables are supposed to pass, and we have those passageways for the audio cables alone, so they're not running parallel to light cables. Yeah, I just gave you a very important tip. I think you should pay me for that. Also, the other reason for the sound system design is such that if you notice in this installation, we had 5 stacks of line array systems that were actually hung and floored. Now, normally in most people's installations, all you see is just left and right. By left and right, I mean that the sound system is actually positioned some on the left and some on the right. Now, it was from the design that was done that determined how many stacks of speakers were going to be flown in that place. And the number of speakers that were also positioned on each stack was determined by the design that was done. Yes, by the design that was done. And from the software, we could see that, okay, this number of speakers were not enough. So we had to add another extra number of speakers to the entire stack to make up the number that you can see eventually that came up in the final installation of those sound systems. Now, why did we do that? That's the essence of a sound system design that we do, because you can't be guessing. Also, if you notice, we had under balcony speakers. I had mentioned that earlier. It was from the design that we saw that the sound system was not going to get to the under balcony. So because of that, we had to come up with things that we could do. We had to come up with how many speakers had to be positioned in those places to make sure that the sound is actually clear in those areas for people to hear, so it's audible. So it's not only people that are outside within the coverage that are hearing from the line array speakers. Also, if you notice in the installation, you will notice that the subwoofers, by the subwoofers, I mean the speakers that actually produce low frequencies, the boom, 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 boom that you hear. If you notice, the subwoofers were actually flown. Why? We could have positioned them on the ground, we'd have put them on the ground, but we had reasons for that because we wanted to have even coverage of the low frequencies in that venue. So those are the things that we put into consideration when we actually do our sound system design, and that's the reason why you have to contact us as professionals. Yes, you can contact Sbfrequency Event. Our numbers and our contact address are scrolling below. Also, one of the things we would also advise you on when you have a building or you're doing your buildings, so many pastors and so many church committee members, building committee members, or event owners, event hall owners, we actually want the place to look grand, we want the place to look beautiful. You want it to be that people walk into the place and everywhere is sparkling, shining, reflecting. But hey, what happens to your sound system? Yes, what happens to your sound system? Some of us, we put a lot of glass around all the balconies, we put marble on the floor, so that as you walk in, everywhere is sparkling. And also for the ceilings, also you use reflective ceilings. But what happens in such a situation is that the sound system comes out crappy. The sound system will be audible. And the essence of an event is for people to enjoy the sound system. So if they're coming for an event and the audio is not audible enough or is not clear and there's a lot of reflections, that's not too good for your event hall. So, or for your church. building and for your church event. So that's the essence of having professionals come into the picture to advise you on what building materials you should use. When we come in to advise you, we don't just advise you based on sound, but we advise you also such that you have a very nice, lovely looking church building or event hall, but it's still a very good building that has sound into consideration and will produce you top-notch quality, clear sound. So that's the reason why you have to involve professionals from scratch when you actually have installations or you do buildings. Also, for people that already made buildings already, like you've already built your church, there's nothing you can do about it. You've made the mistakes of the wrong materials to use and all that, and the place is reverberant, it's echoing. Once you clap your hands together, you would hear it 100 times. I may have exaggerated, yes, but what I mean by that is once you clap your hands, you hear you hear the clap several times. Now, if you're in such a situation, yes, you can contact us, because see, there's a difference between padding and isolation. Padding and isolation are two different things entirely, and a lot of us mistake padding for isolation. Now, some of us actually use padding thinking that we're trying to isolate. So let me educate you for a minute. Yeah, so padding is a process whereby you actually position absorbent materials all over the place, those that can absorb low frequencies, high frequencies based on the venue, and that is to solve the issue of echo, a reverberant hall. Padding also helps you fix some problematic frequencies in some venues. But now, isolation is a process whereby you want to make sure that you don't disturb your neighbors. Like some of us have buildings that are actually in the neighborhood and we're disturbing our neighbors. In such situation, what we are supposed to do is an isolation and not pad the hall. So that is where we come into the picture to advise you on what to do to help isolate if that is what you want to solve, or to help you pad the building if what you want to solve is reflections and reverberant issues with your venue. Another reason why you need professionals, you need Sbfrequency events to help you consult, is rigging. Rigging is a very, 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 very important thing, and some people don't consider rigging. Rigging is dangerous. Rigging can kill. Yes, when rigging is not done properly, the speakers can fall on people. By rigging, I mean the process of positioning those speakers, flying them in the air or positioning them on the ground. I have a picture of a stacked speaker where there were like 3 of them, as you can see in the picture, were positioned, and it gave us a very tall setup. But that tall setup, if it's tilted on by mistake, can fall on anybody, and that can lead to death and can be very dangerous. So as pastors, as event owners, you have to consider the rigging of the sound system. You have to make sure that it is done properly and it doesn't fall on your members, which is very important. Now, also in rigging, there are certain factors that we consider. We consider what we call the center of gravity. We consider what we call the weight of the speakers in relation to the beam that is carrying them, and so many other factors which I can't go into right now. Now, for the weight of the beam, now so many of us don't consider that. We just believe that, okay, for this particular building that was done, there's this particular strong beam and it can carry any weight. No, you have to consider the total weight of the line array system you're flying, or the point source speakers that you're flying, in relation to what that beam can carry. Not all beams can carry every weight. So what happens if the beam cannot carry? Then we can advise for a lesser weight speaker that can stay on the beam. but we have to consider the weight and the center of gravity when we do installation of these sound systems. You don't always have to use line array systems, please. So if the beams cannot carry the line array, we can also use point source speakers. By point source, I mean those regular single 15 inches with a cone, that can be flown. We can use that and you will still have very good sound. Good sound doesn't have to come from line array, please. Line array is overrated. Yes, it's overrated. So you can always have good sound and not use line array systems. Also, if you have halls that are reverberant, why would you fly a line array speaker in such a hall? You're just giving yourself more problems, and at the end of the day, those problems will eventually serve as greater problems for the sound system, and we don't want that. Also, the reason why you need professionals to come in for your buildings and for your installation is also because, for example, when we have line array speakers, I've seen a lot of people install line arrays and they just position the line array system and the speaker is pointing to the roof. Please, is it the roof that needs the sound or the people that need the sound? So you actually have those speakers not being splayed properly. There's what we call splay angles, right? There are ways line array systems should be rigged, should be positioned such that they would feed the audience, and you have even dispersion. By dispersion, I mean even loudness or clarity and quality of the sound from the front to the back. That means that when I sit at the front, it's the same level of loudness and quality I'm supposed to hear compared to when I sit at the back. I should not sit at the back and the volume is lower, or I should not sit in front and the level is loud and the people at the back is really low. No. Please, let's make sure that things are done properly. So that's the major essence why you need professionals like Sbfrequency events. Yeah. Also, for the subwoofer positioning, a lot of people just position those speakers on the left and on the right. We have techniques that we can design for you that will make those low frequencies give you an even dispersion from front to back or from side to side in your event hall. We have different techniques. I'm not going to be giving you all the tricks. No. You have to contact us. If I tell you everything, so why are you calling us? Right? Why are you calling us? So I need to hold on to some of the information about all these things so that you can contact us. And we're actually very affordable. Very affordable. Just give us a call and we'll get back to you. So subwoofer positioning, a lot of people have bastardized it and we all just do left and right. Left and right is like the worst kind of positioning you can use for your subwoofers in any hall. So we have other techniques that we can put into place. And also for some of you pastors that are particular about aesthetics, I actually know that some pastors don't like speakers hanging around the place just anyhow. We will work hand in hand with you based on what you like for your aesthetics and still give you a good sound system, So we can both work out something and there's a place of compromise where we will still give you good sound, good audio quality, and at the same time you still have a fantastic aesthetic for your hall and for your church building. Yeah, so this is where I wrap it up today. Till next time when we come your way. My name is Adedunke Gomina and this is Sbfrequency Events. Our handles are scrolling below here, and you can make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn, and you will surely have a great time with us. Thank you very much. Bye for now.